All right, hello game design students. I hope everybody is doing very well. I'm here with the fourth video in this series about how to use a controller when we're using Construct 3. In the previous video, we actually set up a system to limit our lasers that we shoot, right? We set it to 10, and we made it so that when you pull the trigger, again, I'm gonna pull this up. When you pull the trigger, if your laser charge is greater than 0, meaning if you have any type of charge, it'll shoot a laser, but it'll subtract 1 from your total count using an instance variable. And then we created a recharge mechanic. So when you press the X button on the controller, okay, it'll recharge your lasers back to that default amount. The problem with this is, as we go to play our game, you'll notice there's no way for the player to track that. So let's say you shoot a few and you're like, shoot, how many do I have left? There's really no way for us to track that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a heads-up display for our player so that there's actually a visual aspect to the game that they can look at and say, oh, this is how much I have left charge-wise. Okay. So to do this, we actually have to set up a new layer. So if we look at our layer panel over here, right now we have our player layer open. We're actually going to click that lock button right there to lock it up so we don't mess with anything on the player layer. We're going to right-click and add a layer at the top, and we actually need to name this layer HUD or HUD. And that just stands for heads up display. It's kind of a common gaming term for your sort of things that you have on your screen that don't move, right? Your information type things. So that's our HUD, our heads up display. Now, before we add anything, we have to change one super key value, and that's our parallax. Okay, so if we go to scroll and zoom, we want to go to parallax here, and right now it's 100 by 100, and we actually want to change that to 0 by 0. Okay, 0x0, you can see it right over here. And what this does is it makes it so everything on this layer doesn't scroll. As you move around, it just stays in its same place. And you'll see what I mean by that once we add in a few elements. Okay. The first element we're actually gonna add in, so we're just gonna go here to our layout and everything, make sure player layer and background are locked. This is really important. Otherwise you might add something to those layers on accident and those will start to scroll, and we don't want that. So with our HUD layer unlocked, we're gonna double click, and we're actually gonna add in some text. So I'm just gonna type text, and I can click anywhere to add this, and I can kind of position it. I like to position it here in the top left corner, okay? And we're gonna call this text our charge text. So we gotta make sure to name it, because we might have more than one text thing on our HUD, so we wanna make sure we know specifically what kind of text this is. So this is our charge text. And what we need to do down here, we don't need to add any instance variables, behaviors, anything like that. We just need to actually change the properties of it. So we want to change the text. I want to make it say charge. I like it looking in all caps. I think that looks nice. And you'll notice right now, whoa, don't want to disable that. You can't really see it because it's black on a black background. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to change the color. You can change the color to whatever you'd like. I'm going to change it to about the same color as the laser, sort of that bright green. And you'll notice, oh, there it is. Now, right now, it's kind of small, so I'm actually going to change the size of it. I'll probably change it to 30. I think that looks pretty nice. But you'll see it's kind of cut off by this box. All I have to do here is click and drag, and it repositions a little bit, okay, right there. Now, I actually also want to change the font. That's something you can do here. If you click these 3 dots, it actually opens up a font picker box. And I think I did fantasy when I was messing around with this earlier. Looks a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, and then you can change the size and adjust it. But these are your stuff here, and you can change the alignment. You can go center aligned, you can go right aligned, you can go left aligned. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave it left aligned because it really doesn't matter for this case. And you can change vertical alignment, you can wrap it around things, you can change its visibility, its origin. There's all sorts of properties, bold, italic, okay? You have a lot of options. But for us, this is going to do it right here. Really just changing the color in the font is totally fine. Now watch what happens when I start this up. You're going to see what the effect of changing that parallax was on our HUD layer. So I start here, and you're going to notice I can scroll and drive around, and that charge is just going to stay in the top left corner because we changed that parallax. It's not going to scroll around the screen, okay? And our lasers still work here. We have our 10 lasers, and then it stops working. I can do my reload mechanic, and I get my 10 back. Okay, we're going to add in a progress bar now to show the player how much is left. So still with the HUD layer selected, I'm going to double click and I'm going to search progress, and my progress bar pops up right here. So I'm going to double click that, I'm just going to click over here to kind of position it next to my charge. And you can adjust the size of the progress bar if you want. I'm not too worried about it. I think its default size is actually pretty good. It just depends on how big or small you want your HUD items to be. Now, we want to change this from progress bar. I'm going to call it charge bar. Let's say you wanted to add in a health bar or something like that later, so you really want to make sure you're naming these things something recognizable that differentiates it from the other objects in your program. Okay. Other than that, I really don't have to change much. I'm not adding any behaviors or any instance variables with this. We already have our instance variables set up on the player. The only thing we need to change is we actually need to go to properties here and change our maximum value to 10. It defaults to 100, but remember, we're maxing out our laser charge at 10, so we need to make sure our progress bar maxes out as 10 as well. Okay. So now if we start it up, okay, we have our charge, we have our progress bar. Right now it's set at 0. Okay, so as we fire our lasers, it's not actually updating that progress bar at all. So we need to go in and start messing with some events here. So if I go to my event sheet, I need to add a new event. And this event is actually going to be in the system panel here. And we're going to go on every tick. And what every tick means is every frame refresh, which in Construct should be 60 frames per second. So 60 times a second, we're refreshing the frame, we're ticking. So every tick, we are going to go to our charge bar, and we want to set progress. Now we could mess with instance variables and different things. The one you need to use is to set progress. Okay? And we're going to set progress to player dot laser charge. There it is, player dot laser charge. So what this is going to do is it's every time the frame refreshes, it's going to update that progress bar to however much charge we have. So watch what happens here when I open this up. Now our charge is totally full. And every time I shoot, our charge goes down just a little bit. And I can hit that X button to reset my charge, and after 2 seconds, bam, we're back at full. So now I have this HUD item. The player can look and see how much charge they have left. Hit X, and it resets my charge. Okay, there it is. Now, personal preference on where you want to put this. Maybe you think, oh man, that's kind of a long ways to look for the player. Let's go put it down here in the bottom. Whatever you feel like, you can position this wherever you want. The key things are these events right here. Now remember, before we finish up, let's add a comment. Okay, this event sets the progress bar to the value of the laser charge. Okay, so every tick, we'll resend that to laser charge. In the next video, we're going to talk about just some more visual cues. We'll maybe set some more things up on the HUD. In some future videos, we're going to add in some enemies, kind of make an objective for the game. But I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.